And earlier I spoke to our White House correspondent Margaret Brennan, who was at the press conference with more.
Japanese Prime Minister was very diplomatic. We know that behind closed doors, Shinzo Abe, the Japanese Prime Minister, will say, we believe that you made a mistake by withdrawing from the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the TPP free trade deal. Japan and the U.S. do not have a free trade deal despite such a close military alliance with Japan. We just don't have one with Japan. And so behind closed doors, we do expect President Trump to say, let's cut our own bilateral free trade deal here. And we know the Japanese are going to say, the way to go here is really for you to have stayed within that broader Pacific alliance. I want to point out, too, that we've seen currency markets, financial markets, watching this body language and these specific diplomatic phrases that both the Prime Minister and the President have used, because this is about lowering the temperature from what Donald Trump said as a candidate to what President Trump now intends to do in terms of defense of Japan, a military ally of the United States, and whether he's going to try to stabilize Asia that has broadly had its nerves rattled recently by not only the U.S.-China policy indications it might be changing, which we now know the White House in a long phone call last night, as President Donald Trump has said, we will continue to stand by our one China policy, meaning we're not going to break up that long-time understanding in terms of recognizing Beijing over Taiwan. I also thought it was really interesting here, and something that will also have a big impact in Asia is the language used. President Trump said North Korea and its growing nuclear threat is a very, very high priority. Remember, U.S. intelligence believes that North Korea's increased nuclear ability could directly threaten U.S. territory within the next 4 years. So President Trump is trying to say, we are going to help stabilize, not shake up Asia, and we're going to counter a threat posed to you by North Korea.
Margaret, at one point he had said during the campaign trail, President Trump had said that it's going to be up to South Korea and Japan to defend themselves. Any talk about that in relation to North Korea?
No, certainly not in this room. But what he probably has been briefed on as president is the extensive ties and treaty alliances that the U.S. has here in terms of military commitments. U.S. has a tremendous presence within Japan. It has since World War II of U.S. personnel. We also have a tremendous military presence on the border between North and South Korea. We didn't hear anything specifically about changing the number of troops or the military commitment. If anything, it seems President Trump is indicating that staying and if not growing. He said certainly on a trade front at least, he expects the U.S. to have even more engagement and presence and influence in Asia, but not a lot of specifics from President Trump on what that means. Shinzo Abe, the Japanese Prime Minister, however, rattled off a very long list of commitments that he believes the U.S. needs to stand by in terms of some territorial disputes in the East and the South China Seas.
Margaret, I want to also talk to you about the travel ban. President Trump talked about that. He was asked about that. Let's listen to that soundbite.
We are going to do whatever is necessary to keep our country safe. We had a decision which we think we'll be very successful with. It shouldn't have taken this much time because safety is a primary reason. One of the reasons I'm standing here today is the security of our country. The voters felt that I would give it the best security. So we'll be doing something very rapidly having to do with additional security for our country. You'll be seeing that sometime next week. In addition, we will continue to go through the court process, and ultimately, I have no doubt that we'll win that particular case.
Doing something rapidly, Margaret, any indication of what that might be?
We don't know quite yet. Could that be another executive order? Could that be the redrafting of the existing executive order that President Trump signed into place that kicked off all these legal disputes about the travel ban and the parameters of it? We do know that White House lawyers, as soon as that judgment came down from the federal court last night, were poring over the language in that ruling and also the original executive order to see where they could make tweaks to avoid further legal backlash battles and to simply halt travel from at least those 7 Muslim majority countries that the White House has highlighted it wants to stop. Because in the meantime, and the president kept bringing back that language of immediate, security threat, he's arguing that there is an imminent one posed by people who could be entering the U.S. today. That has not been backed up with any kind of intelligence that has been shared with the public. But we did hear President Trump say, look, I know things now that I didn't when I was a candidate, and trust me here, this needs to happen. So basically, a lot of this language remained along the same he used on the campaign trail, with the exception of that, to say, now I know with more specificity some of the threats facing this country.
And to Mar-a-Lago they go, and the golf course. I wonder if you are a world leader and you can't golf, what happens, Margaret? Because that seems to be important to this president.
Whether you're a business executive or you're a world leader, having a good 4 hours one-on-one or in a limited group is a very powerful thing.
Totally
and
right.
Golf provides a really good excuse for that. So I guess a lesson to all of us.
Thank you so much. Our Margaret Brennan coming to us from the White House. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you.